That's great. I have a paper here. Normally, I don't like papers for a lecture, but I have to show you within 20 minutes how we are producing our wine. So this needs a lot of concentration, which I mostly do not have. So I have to read according to the photographs a little bit from my paper, so excuse me because of that. Güzelyurt. But first, I will give you a short introduction, and we call our work original and natural. Original because we only use local grapes on their own rootstocks, and natural because we use no additions in our fruit gardens and no additions in our wine cellar. So this is the definition. Güzelyurt in Cappadocia, it's a small town of 2,500, 600 inhabitants, about 1,500 meter altitude, so it's quite high and quite rare for grapes. About 25 years ago, I bought an old Greek house and restored it in that city. I like the very dry climate and a strong winter with temperatures down to minus 20. Yeah. This is the house I was talking about. Most of the old Güzelyurt houses have a wine pressing installation cut out of the volcanic tuff. The lower part is natural rocks, and on top of it, it's a bit constructed. You find it in about 20, 30 houses in Güzelyurt still today. The nearby Haslandar is about 3,200 meter high volcano, and on the slopes we have our fruit gardens. I call them fruit gardens because the local people grow in the garden 6 to 8 different types of grapes, some fruit trees, and different vegetables. Everything karışık. So only some of the grapes can be used to make wine. This is a picture in summer from the different grapeyard. I mean, the private people there, the villagers, have a half hectare, a little bit more, a little bit less, and they grow mostly everything what they need in these small parts. So we bought 2 places, and we hired a few others when we started 10 years ago with our wine production. Göz açmak, most of them you know, I hope, or you still know, I hope, means to open the eye, if you translate it. It takes place in March and April. Around each wine stock, the soil is taken away about 30 to 40 centimeter deep. During winter months, these small roots have developed just under the surface of the soil. The roots will dry out during the next 5 to 6 weeks. It stays open as it is. It helps the wine to go deeper with its main roots, but also it defends the wine from pests, because little animals don't like dry roots. They like fresh ones, as we do with our legumes as well. The strong roots of this only, it was the first one, 2 years old wine, indicates that it is a very, very rich soil. It has developed within 2 months such amount of roots, and this wine is about 3 years old only. That's really something. Well, about 6 weeks later, Adem, just another picture of young grapes which we have planted recently. Adem, our grape master, starts cutting the wines. Our wines are between 2 and 50 to 60 years old, some of them even up to 150 years old. They are, however, rare. We have 7 or 8, something like that. In the beginning of May, the wine starts sprouting. With an offshot, like this, you can plant a new vine. You simply put a stone on the tendril and wait until it gets roots, and then you cut it from the main grape. But you also can use a cutting if possible with a 2-year-old edition. I mean, I'm very happy with my Adam. He knows everything about that, which don't have the experience. With the help of this little piece of addition, you get, according to Adam, very strong and very good roots. And by comparing it a couple of years later, I found out that he was absolutely right. You place the cutting 60 centimeter deep and fill the planting hole 30 to 40 centimeters high up only. I should add, we have here on the volcano tuff soil, which is very, very loose, dries out very quickly, up to 60 centimeter, 50, 60 centimeter in the summer months. So the people there are quite adapted to their environment and know what to do with their climate. Then you add a shovel of goat dung together with some water. After repeating that for 3 years, the wine, the young wine, is able to grow on its own. You don't need to add anything any longer. So we don't do anything. The wine becomes fully green at the end of May, and the wine flowers are growing from day to day. Here Adam did not try to get a new wine. Instead, he intended to get a strong branch for many grapes. He has his own ideas, and sometimes he tries this and that. So it was something he did with this grape. In the first week of September, we start harvesting our white grapes. A bit later, also the red grapes. Here is our koko üzüm. This is our kizil üzüm. We have very few of this grape, and we could make about 100 liter only last year. So friends which will come with me to Güzelyo tomorrow will have a chance to drink something, a bit of this wine. We have also a bottle, 2, 3 bottles here to taste. It's quite interesting. It has a completely different taste. So it's one of the unknown grapes we try to support and to keep alive. This is Kalecikarasse. And then there is it üzüm. The villagers call it köpek üzüm, of course. No? It means dog grape. I say, why you give so crazy names to your grapes? Well, this is the only grape our dogs are eating. What do you want? So, and finally, the Dimyret grape. Our earliest wine, however, is the Keten Gümlek. Adam is hand harvesting the grapes together with his wife and his daughter. So we get very clean and proper grapes to our house. Already during the harvesting, they clean the grapes by hand, really very carefully. Very happy about that. Basalt troughs are still used in most of the fruit gardens to squeeze the grapes. So they put the grapes in a sack and they trample down, the juice comes down. The juice is very quickly pressed out of the bag. From the first trough, the juice runs into a second one, and from there into a canister for transportation. So, at home, now the canister, yes, of course. At home, the juice is slowly heated up. Traditional copper pots are used for the production of pekmez or grape juice, grape syrup. In southeastern Turkey, pekmez is used for many different foods. Here, my partner Hajar is doing our pekmez, the picture. This is in southeastern Turkey, quite interesting, different type of foods. And I have a certain idea about domestication of grapes in the earliest time. I believe it's much more probable that the grape was domesticated to make pekmez and not to make wine. Pekmez is much more important if you have another alcoholic drink. You know, since people had beer, probably beer in that time, they didn't need urgently another alcoholic drink because for their festivities they could use the beer. But I believe, or there is a probability that the grape was really domesticated finally for pekmez, and from there on it turned later into wine. It was very easy to make wine when you know how to make pekmez. And if you find some results in pots or in the soil, both are the same. You know, it's not different, doesn't differ. In Georgia, bahçesi is mostly used together with nuts. It is there also a power food. So here Adam is trying some grapes for his own use directly in the fruit garden. And the other thing is that Turkey is full of Küps. Küp may come from English cup or from German Kübel in the European language source. You have many, many shapes. Each region has its own Küps, and from the shape you know for what it is used. These ones are used for oil, for olive oil. Here there is a very small road to our house. There is no car can come to our house, so we have to carry the last 150 meters everything with a small thing or with a chart or by hand and so on. And of course, our rock cellar door is only 160 centimeters wide. Here we bring a very old Küp. Sorry, down. I have two Roman Küps, 2,000 years old, and I have Byzantine ones, 5-6, and the rest is Ottoman between 200, 150, 200 and 600-700 years, something like that. I choose this type of Küps after some experiences. First I took a Küp and I had my wine, and after 2 weeks it was empty, the Küp. Because it was for dry fruit and for other things, and I didn't know, and it was burned, as I found out later, 400 to 600 degrees Celsius, so everything goes out. You need, for a good wine Küp, you need 1,100 centigrade burning, and by then it's fine.
Because of the angel sharing?
No, because of the material needs really to be burned very, very carefully. It needs to be mixed very carefully. It needs to be. There's a big knowledge needed to make a wine amphora, yeah, or an amphora which can keep liquids. Let's call it like that. 1,150. Yeah. So the real good wine Küps are old, and mostly they need some restoration. Not only from outside, but also from inside. Our biggest Küp has a capacity of 2,000 liters. It was used for wine and lately for water, and therefore painted with asphalt. It was not easy to clean it. As you can see, please, no laughing, yeah? No joke. My partner Hadja deals with the smaller ones. After cleaning, we have to heat up our Küps with our Küp oven. It's a simple construction. We made it to help us to make the Küp, to heat the Küp from inside, to bring it up to a temperature of 70, 80, 90 centigrade. Here you see Hadja setting the burning oven in the Küp. About 1 hour later, the Küp has a temperature of 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, about roughly. At this temperature, it's easy to paint the inside of the Küp with beeswax. We close it very carefully with beeswax, so all the pores are closed, and we are sure that the wine cannot go out. And we use real clean beer wax, which is heated up before, and it's absolutely clean, no bacteria, so to be sure that it is a good material. In fact, what happened is, of course, if you cover that with beeswax, you don't have any longer the connection from wine to the amphora, which especially the Georgians like to have, but they do the same. But they brush, and I have to do the same, they brush after every season with a bark, with a piece of wood or with other things, the inside very, very strongly, and of course they take away more and more the wax until they touch the soil, the clay again, and then only the pores are closed. So in fact you have about 40% wax inside and 60% your wine touches the soil, the clay of the Küps. So by then this is the right position to get the right taste, as old people from Georgia told me. They made me thinking about that and make me. I worked 25 years in Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, so I have good contacts with these people. I'm sorry. We bring. We start early in the morning in September. Normally we start harvesting and bring the grapes to our house. It's about 15-kilometer distance from the volcano to our house in Güzelyurt, and with the help of 2 pumps, we work with this a little bit larger machine. It squeezes only the grapes. It doesn't press the grapes, just squeezes it. It falls down in a round thing, and then the sap, the wooden parts are separated from the grapes, and the grape, the must itself, here we work on it, the must itself is directly pumped by a little pump into the amphora. We have, since we are very high, 1,500 meters, the southern part of our grapes become very quickly ripe, and the grapes, the berries on the same grape on the other side, it's not the same. It's a difference between 3 to 6 days. It's very strong temperature and sun reflection. So our stems, which are separated from this machine, is on one side brown, on the other side green. If we press that a little bit, bitterness goes into the wine from the green side. So what I do, I have separated the sticks, the wooden parts. I put them on our terrace in the sun for 2 days. They are brown as well. And then I add them again to the must. You learn a little bit by tasting the wine or the must at that time, and you think, a lot of sugar, not really very much acid. What shall I do? Shall I add a little bit more of these stems, or should I keep the stems longer in it? You know, you have to decide a little bit in order to get a balance of the taste if you wish. Sometimes we don't need to think about it because the taste, it's fine. But just this is a way to balance that maybe a little bit. So, yeah. I have a lot of friends, they come to look, we sit aside, we are chatting, and suddenly we have a volcano. Because I forgot to press the grape skins and everything down in the Küps every 2 hours. We have to do that at least for 10, 15 days, day and night. This is quite an interesting work. Hajar is here, our pressing the chapeau of the grape skins down in the juice again. This is our 2,000-liter Küps. It came from Tokat. We found it in Tokat. And it has to as I told, repeat it every 2 to 3 hours. We also have half Küps. Originally, they were used to ferment leather, a quite interesting thing. I don't know whether it's true. There are only very few people who know about this type of Küps. But since they don't become narrow, but they stay open, there is not a big pressure from under to the top, so it's easier for us to turn the skins always into the juice to make them working together with the wine. The fermentation of white wine in open Küps takes about 2 to 3 weeks. when we do that in the cellar. I have in our cellar mostly the white wine and no fermenting red wine, because I want to keep the yeast of the white one clean in my cellar. The red wine we keep outside. 32 centigrade during the day, 12 to 9 centigrade during the night. So it's a huge change of temperature, and everybody tells me, oh, it makes a good aroma. It's true. So this is our cellar. Half of it is natural rock. The top of it is done of tuff stones. It's unfortunately a bit unclear. My photograph was used somewhere, and it was a bit diminished. So we have another cellar for aging wine. We have them in this old Küps. Autumn in our fruit gardens. It looks like that. As I told you, in winter the temperature goes down to minus 20 degrees Celsius. During this time we work in our cellar, bottling, labeling, preparing for export. And then, yeah, snow in the vineyards of Cappadocia looks like that. So not only in summer, you are also welcome in winter. It's a nice place near Chowshin. Snow around there. Snow around our wine Küps. Here in these ones we have the red wine, so it stays minus 20 in the night. In the first year I was going every 2-3 hours down, looking whether I see only a red block of ice or whether it is still wine. But finally I found out the alcohol level saves the wine, and it goes down to 6 degrees Celsius, the temperature, and then it stays. It doesn't become colder. So this is snow in our tasting hall, so-called tasting hall. So you see the winter comes in everywhere. And Happy New Year. Yeah? So in March, we celebrated the Dionysus Festival, tasting with friends the latest and some of the older wines, and discuss our next wine projects, like biodiversity as a precondition for healthy grapes and living natural wine. The opposite of biodiversity is monoculture, by the way. You see some friends here. As you can see, it's very, very, very easy to make a natural wine. So I thank you very much. This is my presentation.